A rising Italian football star. A locker room incident that spirals out of control. Two hospitalized teammates, a global audience in shock, and millions of dollars hanging in the balance. How did one night threaten not just a player's future, but ignite a crisis across European football? Stay tuned, because what's really at stake is much bigger than a single career. If you've watched European football in the last 5 years, you've seen the headlines. Niccolò Zaniolo, the boy wonder from Rome, once hailed as the future of Italian football. From his breakout moments at AS Roma to high-profile moves across Europe, Zaniolo's talent has never been in question. But now, all anyone is talking about is the chaos that unfolded at Viola Park, and what it means for him, his clubs, and the business of the beautiful game. It all started in late May 2024. Fiorentina's youth team edged out Roma's Primavera squad in a hard-fought semi-final. But the real drama began after the final whistle. In a scene that would go viral within hours, Zaniolo, currently on loan to Fiorentina from Galatasaray, allegedly stormed the Roma locker room, visibly intoxicated, and confronted two teenage players, Mattia Almaviva and Marco Lidi. Witness accounts, now part of a formal investigation, describe Zaniolo urinating in team facilities, provoking players, and then unleashing violence. A punch to Almaviva, a brutal shove to Lidi. Both teenagers would require hospital treatment. Almaviva's prognosis alone was 10 days, but that was just the start. Lidi, already recovering from shoulder surgery, saw his recovery timeline stretched by 3 weeks, fueling outrage, fear, and a media storm the Italian game hasn't seen in years. As Roma responded with an explosive statement, making clear they stood behind their youth players and demanded swift justice. We trust that the institutions will act decisively to ensure accountability and protect the values of Italian football, their letter read. The Italian Football Federation, FIGC, launched an immediate investigation with top prosecutor Giuseppe Chinet leading the charge. What happened next? The world of football, and its nearly $30 billion economy, held its breath. Sponsors began reviewing their contracts. Premier League scouts backed away. Zaniolo's market value, according to Transfermarkt, dropped by 20%, nearly $6 million wiped out in days. Fiorentina, already hesitant, confirmed they would not purchase him outright. And Galatasaray, the club that owns his rights, re-examined his contract for disciplinary loopholes. But this isn't just about bad behavior. This is about trust, money, and the high-stakes ecosystem that is European football. What does it take for a single night to derail a rising career? How can one incident ripple through clubs, sponsors, and even UEFA itself? And more importantly, what does this say about the pressures facing young athletes today? First, let's rewind. Niccolò Zaniolo's rise was meteoric. Born in 1999, he was scouted early, brought into Inter Milan's youth academy, and quickly caught the attention of Italy's football elite. But it was at AS Roma where he truly exploded onto the scene. By 19, he was being compared to legends, his technical skill, vision, and physicality making him a sensation not just in Serie A, but across Europe. Regular call-ups to the Italian national team followed. His Instagram was a montage of goals, celebrations, private jets, and a lifestyle most could only dream about. But, as every football insider knows, the sport is as much about character as it is about skill. For Zaniolo, cracks began to show. By January 2023, his relationship with AS Roma soured over a protracted transfer saga. He demanded a move, resulting in a controversial transfer to Galatasaray in Turkey. Despite flashes of brilliance in Istanbul, he found himself loaned out again, to Aston Villa, Atalanta, and then Fiorentina. Yet, none of these clubs bit on a permanent deal. The question on everyone's lips, why wouldn't anyone commit to one of Italy's most talented midfielders? The answer, it seems, was not just on the pitch. Whispers of attitude issues, clashes with management, and now the fallout from Viola Park have put Zaniolo's career in jeopardy. The latest incident was the tipping point: 2 injured teenagers, an intoxicated player, and a night that could cost him everything. The details emerging from the investigation are damning. Mattia Almaviva and Marco Lidi, both promising Roma youth, were reportedly targeted without a word exchanged. Lidi in particular suffered a significant setback, his previously injured shoulder now requiring weeks more of painful rehab, possibly even surgery. Their families, upset and angry, are exploring civil lawsuits. Roma's Primavera head coach, Federico Guidi, has reportedly provided a witness statement so detailed and damaging that Zaniolo's legal team is scrambling to contain the fallout. This situation is unprecedented, even for Italian football's long history of drama. Paolo Condo, a respected voice on Sky Sport Italia, put it bluntly. Zaniolo's actions, if substantiated, represent a profound betrayal of the core tenets of sportsmanship and fair play, undermining the very essence of the game. Gianluca Di Marzio, Italy's top transfer guru, adds, "This incident significantly diminishes Zaniolo's prospects of securing a permanent transfer to a top-tier European club, effectively jeopardizing his future career trajectory." And behind the headlines, the money talks. Marco Bellinazzo, a renowned Italian football financial analyst, warns that the financial repercussions for Zaniolo could be substantial, potentially leading to significant losses in endorsement deals and future contract negotiations. Already, sponsors are distancing themselves. Even UEFA has publicly stated that it is closely monitoring the investigation, an ominous sign. But there's more. Zaniolo's contract with Fiorentina included a key clause. Any serious disciplinary infraction gives Galatasaray the right to terminate the loan instantly. If the FIGC issues a ban, it could cascade across Europe through FIFA. That would leave Zaniolo in contractual limbo, with his club desperate to protect its own reputation and finances. Meanwhile, the world is watching. Fans debate endlessly on social media. Some call for forgiveness, citing the immense pressure faced by young stars. Others, like journalist Fabrizio Biasin, demand a severe and unequivocal punishment to serve as a deterrent against similar transgressions in the future. The Italian Footballers Association, AIC, led by Damiano Tomasi, has condemned all forms of violence and called for accountability, yet also for a fair, impartial investigation. And what about the victims? For Almaviva and Lidi, the story is more than headlines. These are teenagers, their dreams potentially shattered by a single night's violence. Their lawyers are moving towards civil litigation, opening Zaniolo to damages that could further cripple his finances and tarnish his personal brand. All of this is happening as the pressure on Zaniolo mounts from every direction. Scouts who once saw him as a Premier League star now hesitate to touch him. His market value has plummeted. Endorsement deals are on ice. The media attention is relentless. Even the Turkish club that owns his rights is weighing their options, knowing that a misstep could cost them millions or a share of future transfer fees. Perhaps the most sobering question is, how did we get here? How does a player go from the darling of Italian football to a pariah in a matter of hours? Is the problem Zaniolo himself, or the system that creates then consumes young stars at such a fast pace? Federico Pastorello, one of Italy's top football agents, offers a clue. This situation underscores the critical importance of providing young players with comprehensive support systems and guidance to effectively navigate the immense pressures inherent in professional football. The environment, he says, is designed to reward talent but rarely prepares players for the scrutiny, the temptations, and the weight of expectation that comes with sudden fame and fortune. Now, as authorities comb through evidence and lawyers draft statements, the football world braces for the next shoe to drop. Will Zaniolo face a lengthy ban? Could FIFA extend it globally, effectively blackballing him from Europe's elite leagues? Will Galatasaray sever ties? How much money stands to be lost, not just by Zaniolo, but by clubs and sponsors entangled in his fate? And perhaps just as importantly, is there a way back, not just for Zaniolo, but for a system that all too often turns prodigies into tragedies? Or will this saga become a cautionary tale for every young player with a dream and a spotlight? In a moment, we'll examine the most likely outcomes, the potential paths to redemption, and what steps clubs and federations are considering to prevent the next Zaniolo incident. But first, could this scandal force a fundamental change in how football manages its most precious and vulnerable assets? As the dust from the Viola Park incident begins to settle, the football world is left holding its breath. The stakes have never been higher, not just for Niccolò Zaniolo, but for the entire system that allowed a promising star to tumble so spectacularly. What happens next will shape not only Zaniolo's future, but may well become a reference point for how European football deals with scandal, rehabilitation, and the care of its most vulnerable assets, its young players. Let's start with the immediate consequences awaiting Zaniolo. As the FIGC's chief prosecutor, Giuseppe Cine, moves forward with the investigation, every new witness brings more complications. Roma's Primavera head coach, Federico Guidi, has already provided a comprehensive and damning statement. The medical reports on Mattia Almaviva and Marco Lidi paint a grim picture. Both required hospitalization, and there are now fears Almaviva may need invasive reconstructive surgery on his shoulder. Liddy, barely 18, faces a recovery stretching over weeks, if not months. But the hospital bills and legal woes are only the beginning. Article 9 of the FIGC Disciplinary Code leaves little room for leniency in cases of violent conduct. Experts warn that, if the allegations are substantiated, Zaniolo could face a ban lasting a year, or even longer, especially if FIFA extends the sanction globally. Such a ban would all but erase his professional visibility and make him radioactive to European top-tier clubs. Already, Galatasaray, holding the keys to his contract, are weighing their options, empowered by a special disciplinary clause that could see him dismissed with immediate effect. Endorsement deals are evaporating. Sponsors, always alert to brand risk, are actively reviewing their contracts. As Marco Bellinazzo, a respected financial analyst, notes, the financial repercussions for Zaniolo could be substantial, potentially leading to significant losses in endorsement deals and future contract negotiations. Transfermarkt's latest data shows a 20% drop in Zaniolo's market value since the story broke, a freefall for a 25-year-old who was, until recently, under Premier League radar. On the civil front, the families of Almaviva and Liddy are considering lawsuits. Their lawyers have not only compiled medical evidence, but, thanks to CCTV footage and multiple eyewitnesses, appear confident. If the matter reaches a civil court, Zaniolo faces not just possible financial losses, but a public legal battle that could further damage his image. And yet, the most haunting question is whether this will be the final chapter for Zaniolo, or a turning point. There is precedent for redemption in football, but it is rare. Players have come back from bans, from addiction, from scandal, but only with a public show of remorse and a willingness to embrace profound change. Some insiders suggest that Zaniolo's only path forward may lie in seeking professional help, not just as a legal strategy, but as a genuine step toward personal growth. If he were to issue a heartfelt apology, support the victims, and enroll in a federation-mandated rehabilitation program, perhaps football's doors would not close permanently. But would European clubs risk the backlash of signing him? Gianluca Di Marzio, a leading transfer expert, remarks, "This incident significantly diminishes Zaniolo's prospects of securing a permanent transfer to a top-tier European club, effectively jeopardizing his future career trajectory. At the same time, the incident is forcing clubs, federations, and agents across Europe to confront some uncomfortable truths. How did the system fail to support a talented but troubled young man? And how many other stories like Zaniolo's are simmering beneath the surface, ignored until they explode spectacularly?" As football agent Federico Pastorello observes, this situation underscores the critical importance of providing young players with comprehensive support systems and guidance to effectively navigate the immense pressures inherent in professional football. The pressure, the expectations, the money, these can be too much for even the most gifted talents. Clubs invest millions in scouting and training, but often neglect the psychological and emotional scaffolding young stars desperately need. The Zaniolo scandal, then, is not just a cautionary tale for players, but a wake-up call for institutions. Neglect off the pitch can prove just as disastrous as injury on it. If, as some speculate, UEFA takes a more active role in monitoring player welfare, Zaniolo's case could lay the groundwork for sweeping reforms, mandatory counseling programs, stricter codes of conduct, and a more robust safety net for players at risk. Damiano Tomasi, president of the Italian Players Association, makes it clear. The AIC unequivocally condemns all forms of violence and fully supports a thorough and impartial investigation to ensure that those responsible are held accountable for their actions. For players watching from the sidelines, there are lessons to be learned. Professional football isn't just dazzling stadiums and multi-million-euro contracts. The spotlight can be unforgiving. One night of poor decisions can undo a decade of hard work. The values you project off the pitch are as important, if not more, than the skills you display on it. And for young fans dreaming of top-flight glory, Zaniolo's fall is a sobering reminder. Talent alone is never enough. Mental resilience, discipline, and emotional intelligence are just as critical. That's why, as football psychologist Dr. Sabina Rossi notes, clubs must make mental coaching and psychological support integral parts of their youth development programs. Only then can we hope to prevent tragedies like this one. Still, amid the shock and finger-pointing, there are silver linings, if the institutions are willing to act. The incident has opened a much-needed dialogue about the unseen challenges young athletes face, the temptations, the loneliness, the pressure to perform. Some European clubs, prompted by the public outcry, are already drafting new guidelines for post-match conduct, locker room security, and mental health counseling. For the fans, the episode offers a practical takeaway: to judge less harshly and understand more deeply the worlds these young players inhabit. Next time you see a scandal erupt, ask yourself, is it simply a personal failing or the symptom of a broken system? And what responsibility does the wider football community bear? Let's not forget, for every Zaniolo, there are hundreds of young players navigating the same pitfalls, often alone. They need mentors, not just managers, counselors, not just contracts. And sometimes, the strongest teams are those that look after their own, both on and off the pitch. So, where does it all end for Niccolò Zaniolo? The answer, in many ways, rests with the choices he'll make in the coming weeks and months. If the investigation confirms the most serious allegations, a lengthy ban from Italian football is almost certain. FIFA's interest means that ban could become global, stalling or even ending his professional career. Galatasaray may terminate his contract, sponsors will disappear, and lucrative transfers will vanish as quickly as they appeared. But history also shows that football is a world of second chances, if one is willing to walk the hard road of redemption. If Zaniolo seeks help, demonstrates true remorse, and works to repair the damage, there's a possibility, however slim, that he could return, not as the prodigy he once was, but as a more mature, self-aware version of himself. He might never reclaim his former glory, but he could become a symbol of the dangers of unchecked stardom and of the possibility for change. And what of European football itself? More than just a headline scandal, the Viola Park incident is likely to become a case study for player welfare. Clubs and federations are under new pressure to rethink their approach to youth development, offering psychological support and monitoring for warning signs of emotional distress or behavioral risk factors. Some are even considering appointing dedicated player welfare officers, a step that could make all the difference for the next generation of stars. It's a tragic story, but it doesn't have to end in ruin. If football's institutions act decisively, balancing justice with compassion, they can turn this scandal into a catalyst for much-needed reform. That's the larger lesson. Talent is fragile, and even the brightest lights can flicker out if not properly protected. So, back to our main question. Will Zaniolo face a career-ending ban? At this moment, while the investigation is ongoing, the odds have never been higher. The legal, financial, and reputational toll is mounting every day. Unless something dramatic changes, a withdrawal of charges or overwhelming evidence in his favor, his days at the top are likely numbered. But could this scandal force European football to rethink how it supports young stars? Absolutely. In fact, you're witnessing the start of that process right now. The conversation has begun, and the silent crisis of player welfare is finally getting the attention it deserves. If football learns from Zaniolo's downfall, future stars might be spared the same fate. And now for a final, little-known fact. FIFA's legal team has quietly floated the idea of introducing a redemption pathway for banned players, offering education, counseling, and rehabilitative steps that could shorten bans for those who show genuine remorse and change. While nothing is official yet, insiders say this could become one of the most significant reforms in decades, all sparked by cases just like Zaniolo's. What do you think? Should Zaniolo get a second chance? Or is this the line that should never be crossed? And how can football better protect its young stars from the pitfalls of fame and pressure? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story as jaw-dropping as we did, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into the world of football scandals, triumphs, and untold stories.